try it. Okay.
Yeah, we don't hear anything.
Oh, let me put on the video, the audio. 1 second. It's not muted. Let me see if the volume should be louder. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll try it again.
Yeah, sometimes Zoom can be a bit tricky and not easy to hear the videos. Yeah. I've seen it happen many times.
Okay. Now, where did the video disappear now? I'll get it. Are you all able to see and hear now?
No, no see, no hear.
No see, no hear.
I
Right.
hear you, Sister Anza, and I see you.
You're seeing and hearing the video.
No.
Well, no, you. I see
Okay.
you.
All right.
Yeah, so we're trying to see the video.
That's very loud. So something. Oh, I see what's happening. Are you seeing the video now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. And let me play it, see if you can hear it now. I know what I did wrong.
No sound.
Okay.
Yeah, so Zoom is not picking up the sound, I think. That's what's happening. So
let's just read and visual. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, no sound again.
That's okay. Okay. Without the sound, not a problem. It's okay. Now let's go straight into the meditation session. Are you all there?
Yep.
Seeing me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. What I want to do is share the screen and use a PowerPoint so that we can be guided. Because it's Zoom, we can use more visuals as well as my explanation so that you can follow on. And you can probably write your questions that you have so that at the end, if we need to clarify any points whatsoever, we can spend a few minutes and do that. Okay?
Okay.
And maybe in between, I can also pause and ask if you follow. So we are here to learn a little bit about meditation. But before I move on to the session, let me ask you, I'm sure all of you practice some form of meditation or the other, right? Some form of yoga. Isn't that so? So you already know the benefit of meditation or yoga. Now, some people say yoga, and some people use the word meditate or meditation. So basically, meditation is more the Western word, whereas yoga is more Eastern origin. But in this case, this is called Raja Yoga, because there are countless types of yogas. If you Google or you research, you would find there's so many types of yogas and meditation out there. And I'm sure when you come across many people, a lot of them, maybe 90% would say, I practice meditation. Okay. So this kind of meditation that you are about to be exposed to, it's called Raja Yoga meditation. All right. And I'm going to explain what it is. Now, just to get a broader perspective as to what this program is about, this meditation, I'll give you at the beginning a little outline as to our overall worldwide spread. It's international, our what do you call it, umbrella organization. And so the format for the class will be our organization, where we fall at an international level, then a national level, and then we'll go straight into the first class of this meditation session, which will be self-explanatory. So now I'm going to share the screen and you'll tell me we don't need to hear anything. It's just visuals. So I'm pulling up a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, the name of our organization is called, let me move the screen here so that it would not block, and I'll present it because it's animated. It's called the Brahma Kumaris. Have any of you heard of the Brahma Kumaris before? Just out of curiosity.
I have not.
Okay. Anybody else? Apart
Yes,
from Brother Shiv.
I have visited Mount Abu, their center as well.
Very good, Sister Shavi, right?
Yeah, and you know, Sister Shivani, she's very popular.
Shivani is international. She's so good all over the world, right?
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. So we are called the Brahma Kumaris. It's a big word, but we call it BK for short. Now, our organization focuses on spiritual yoga at a spiritual level. And you'll get an idea of what we mean in terms of spiritual, because there is so many definitions to that word spiritual, right? Different people have different meanings to that word. So the Brahma Kumaris, spiritual nurturing, when we say that, we have a lot of activities that sustain our participants in different ways. The organization was founded in 1937 by our founding father, which is Prajapita Brahma. Prajapita, for those who have not been exposed to Hindi words, simply means father of humanity, right? So the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University or organization, it's international. When we say world spiritual, we mean everyone of all ages, of all culture, of all nationalities as students who practice meditation, the teachings, the knowledge of this institute. Our World Health headquarters is in Mount Abu, India. And Mount Abu is in the state of Rajasthan, which is somewhat between Bombay and Delhi, more or less like the middle. If you all want to search further, there are tons of information on the website, and the website is brahmakumaris.org or brahmakumaris.com. Okay. For many years, since 1937, of course, there has been many changes in the organization, but we are worldwide and we touch the lives of many people in different ways all over the world. We have a network of about, well, it was 9,000 a long time ago, but I'm sure it's over 9,000 now, and in over 140 countries all over the world. When we say 9,000, we are actually putting 9,000 as established, recorded centers, but there are many sub-centers also that are not recorded on this list. So in the United States alone, there are over 30 centers, maybe more too. Of course, the whole theme of our organization is spiritual enlightenment of ourselves as practitioners of this type of meditation, as well as helping and teaching others to do the same. We use courses, lectures, workshops, and this is all in terms of tools to help everyone learn this type of meditation and the spiritual values that we can embody through the practice of this type of meditation. Our organization is non-profit in the true sense of the word, no profit, really all voluntary, and all members of all the centers, it's voluntary service to humanity. We don't charge for any of our services in any of the centers in any of the countries. Of course, so you may ask, well, how do we survive? We as members also work. We are dedicated to this, so we fund it on our own. Each student contribute in whatever way they could in terms of whether it is to provide the pamphlets for advertising, the whatever way each one is able to do service, they do that voluntarily. That's how our system grows. It's a true university because all people from all over the world. So the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University joined the United Nations in 1980 as an NGO. And we have general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. In 1983, we attained that status. And we have consultative status with UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, in 1987, since 1987.
And what is an NGO?
Non-governmental organization. Non-governmental, non-profit NGO. Okay. Now, what do we mean by, I'll try to put your faces here too. So what is yoga? Many have their own definition of the word yoga itself. So yoga is a small 4-letter word, but it can be translated to mean connection or communication or union. Do you like the way it's coming up in the PowerPoint? I
Yes.
played with this. Right? I was having fun creating it, right? Connection, communication, or union, right? Communicating with someone, connecting with something or someone, or having that union with something or someone. So in order to have that simple definition of the meaning of yoga, right? So in order to have yoga, communion or union with anyone, let me see why this is blocking. All right, union between, that means there must be at least two entities in that union, right? So if you are having or yoga, or you are communicating or having remembrance of something or someone, so the first entity in that union would be you, right? So you on one end, what or who are you communicating with? So let's assume that this is you or me here trying to have yoga. We are connecting with something or someone. So let's name that something or someone a source, right? The source that we are communicating with. The link, we are having a link with something or someone, and we'll go into why we are having that. So Raja Yoga, the word Raja means king or supreme. That's a Hindi literal translation. Supreme or master or king. And yoga means union, like we are explaining. Through that union that we are attempting to create with something or someone, whether we call it a source or whatever we call it, we are attempting to become master over ourselves, right? So this is where the terminology Raja Yoga comes in. Through that connection, I am attaining a certain sense of self-mastery over myself. That's what yoga does. So the art of meditation, it's I or you sitting and trying or attempting to create a link with the source. And this is what we are going to understand, that process. Now, I could have started the class and say, let's meditate and play a commentary and we all sit and try to follow the words. But unless we are given some knowledge before we start a practice, then we won't know what we are doing, even though we are hearing the words. So the explanation of what meditation is or what we are trying to achieve is important before we start practicing it. So what's happening here is this is me, you, and this is the source, and we are trying to have yoga. And of course, it is for self-empowerment. That's the reason we are practicing it. So the first end of the link, it's you, okay? And the second end of the link would be that source, whatever that is. So this first class will be focusing on me or you. Who am I? If I don't know myself, if I don't know how I'm functioning, I won't be able to achieve an accurate union or link. And the process or what the result that comes from that union, if I'm not aware of what's happening, even though I may gain some benefit, it may not be as much benefit if I am fully aware of what's happening internally. So I need to recognize myself, have knowledge of myself accurately, and be able to understand what's happening with me. So who am I? This is our first class. That's the question. So we are going into the depths of understanding of who am I. How can I get this to not This thing is at the top here. Brother Shri, you're an expert. Let's see.
Nobody will see it, only you don't see it. But you
Okay.
can move it, you can grab it and move it around where you want.
Put this at the bottom, right?
Yeah, grab it and
very
move it.
good, very good, very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see, so what is your true identity? Now, let me ask some, this is straightforward, very simple questions that we all ask ourselves in some form or the other, or we would have asked ourselves. If we meet someone for the first time, like in our group, we ask, who are you? Or you ask someone else, who are you? And what's the first identity that we give to others? If we are introducing and meeting for the first time, how do we identify ourselves? First, simplest identity is we give our name. Isn't that so? That's common sense. Name, we say, okay, my name is so-and-so. And then we also have identities like our professions. We introduced ourselves, our nationalities, our interests, because we may wear many hats. So we will refer to ourselves as a teacher, maybe a parent, maybe a student, or maybe we are all of those things, right? So as a teacher, I focus on my identity as to what I do in this body as a teacher. As a parent, I focus on my identity in that profession or in that role as a parent. As a student, I study. So I have that identity. And you can, in your fingertips, have many, many identities. We all have so many identities. But if you think about it, they are all physical identities. You agree? Tell me when you find what I'm saying is a little bit not, it's very simple. It's ABC, but if you have any questions, free to ask at any time, okay? Now, each one of us think of ourselves as, what's the word we use to describe ourselves? Human beings. We are all human beings. But that word has two parts to it. The human and the being. Correct? Now, it may be simple what I'm saying, but I'm leading to something. So, is there more parts to it than the two parts, human and being, that we all describe ourselves as human beings? So if we take each one of ourselves, we say there are two parts to us. Okay, and one way to see that, let's say, for instance, someone passes away or dies, right? How do we describe that process of death? What do we say happened to that soul, to that person? So how would you describe the process of death in your own words? Anyone? I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, the soul left the body.
Okay, that's how you will describe it, Brother Shri. What about the others?
I usually say transitioned.
Very nice word, very interesting. Anybody else? What do you say happened? Transition in meaning you move from one to the other, some
Yes.
transition or transferred, right? Anybody else?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. It's moved on to another
Oh,
form.
I have to pull up the chat. Okay. All right. Okay, but if we can share sometimes, right? In the chat, I'll pull it up afterwards and look. Okay, so normally, if you talk to anyone, they would say when someone passes on, something left the body. Isn't that so? And transitioned somewhere or transferred somewhere. So that thing that left the body, what is the name that we give to it? Many people call by many names. Some use the word spirit. Some use the word energy. Some say life force. Some say soul, like what a tree just used. But they're all the same thing, isn't that so? So it means, and what is left behind after the soul, or let's use the word soul, after the soul leaves, the body, which is physical matter, remains. Isn't that so? So from that, we can conclude that a human being is made up of two parts, flesh and bones, the skeleton. Isn't that what our body is made up of? Right? So the human being, which is me or you or anyone else, we may be different, dress differently, have different complexion, cultures, different ways of thinking, but we are all a human being made up of flesh and bone. But that spirit or that soul is in each one of us for us to be alive today. Isn't that so? So that soul is the living being. So in other words, a human being is made up of the living part as well as the non-living part. And the living part is what we refer to as the soul. And the non-living part is what we refer to as the body. Do you all agree that the body is non-living matter? I want to just open a question with that. Do you believe that the body is non-living matter?
Yes.
Yeah, I had never thought about it this way, but my answer is yes.
But Ashri will give them a chance, right? That you already know.
I just
Okay.
never thought about it, but
Right.
yes.
So even when you are alive, I'm telling you that that body that we have, each one of us, it's made up of non-living matter, atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, physical matter. This is why we can experiment on the human body, like how they are experimenting with this shot, right? That's experiment on a physical level. So if I tell you that whether you are alive or the soul has left the body, that body, physical body, is always made up of non-living matter. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that,
Yeah,
everybody?
yeah.
Very good. How is it that when we are alive, that the body is non-living? That's the next question. How can the body be non-living if we are alive? It's because the soul is the living being, and only when the soul is in the body that it energizes and gives that life force to the body. Okay? So this is why whether we are alive or not alive, the entity or the part that classifies us or qualifies us to be living is the soul. So the soul is the living being inside of these flesh and bones. So this body, which we call flesh and bones, is said to be our housing, our temple, our church, our cage, whatever. It's described in different ways. Are you all okay so far? I'm leading up to something very important. Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
I'm with you.
me
All
too.
right. Okay, so another important question I want to ask here. Remember, this class is about understanding who I am, who you are, okay? Now, if the body is non-living and the soul is living, that's making up the being is the living part and the human part is the body. The question I have to ask is this. Do you have a soul?
Yes.
No, we are the soul. We are.
Ah,
Oh,
see that
you-
it is that it is. I'm happy you got it because it's written here, right? If I
Yes.
say I have this phone, right? It means
No,
you
we are
and the
it.
phone are separate. And if I say I have a soul, I'm actually separate from the soul. And if I'm a human being, I'm actually saying I'm the body who owns the soul. Actually, figuratively, that's what I'm saying. In other words, I'm identifying myself as the body. The
Yeah.
biggest realization that we need to have is that I'm not the body, but I am the soul. So this is why we say, I have a body. Who does the body belong to? We say my hand, my feet, my organs, my body. So it means I am something separate from that body, from my hand, from everything. Okay, so I am really the soul, that spirit, that energy, that life force. That's my true identity. Okay, that's my true identity. So if I don't know and have the awareness of my true identity, then I'm operating from a false identity. Isn't that so? So then that can create a lot of confusion in our lives. It means I've forgotten, I've fallen asleep, and I'm not totally aware of myself as a soul, that spiritual being that lives inside of this body. Okay? Now, I'm just going a little bit further here. The body. These are descriptions of the body. Tell me if you agree or disagree. What is the body made of? It's a body of clay, it's matter. We use the body to perform actions, right? It's the costume. We all have different costumes. It's physical matter. It's non-living, which we just described. It's temporary, isn't it? Because do you always stay in that one body of yours? Right? We all leave that body someday. So it's temporary. But if we say we are transitioning or leaving, it means there is a continuity to I, the soul. It means there's no end to me. I am imperishable, whereas the body is perishable. Tell me if you have any questions or thoughts regarding this information. Okay. Now, me. Now remember, whenever I say I or you, I'm referring to you as the soul now. Okay, not Joanne, not Sarah. That's the name of your body. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I'm referring to the true you as a soul, a spiritual being now, because we have to get into our true identity before we can really benefit from that meditation, right? So I am a soul. What is the soul? And we are going to go into the science of the soul in this class, but for now, we say soul is light. It has the ability, which is I have the ability to think. I have the ability to use the organs of the body to perform actions. I am a spiritual being. I am the living being. I am eternal. There is no end to the soul. There is continuity to the soul. I am not the body of flesh and bones. I am a being of light, and I'll go further into that. So, if you see on the left-hand side, are you all seeing the screen properly? You would see it's written a big terminology, and it said body consciousness. And the other hand, other side, you're seeing soul consciousness. Okay, what does that mean? If I'm thinking that I am this body, it means my awareness, my thinking, my way of speaking, my interaction with others would be coming from the perspective of bodily being. So I'll be looking at the body. So the first thing I would see when I look at someone is how tall this one is, what color the skin is, how, what nationality, their features, their faces, and all these things, right? So I'm interacting from the perspective of body consciousness, because this is the consciousness I'm having of myself. I am a bodily being. Does that make sense? So I relate to others from that perspective. But if I realize that I'm not the body is my costume, the body is my temple, the body is my casing, my instrument, then I will be relating with you from a deeper perspective now. Soul to soul, right? Spirit to spirit. Living being to living being, right? So that is said to be a soul consciousness or sense of self-realization. My true inner identity is soul. Self-realization. It's sometimes we think it's a big word, but really it's to realize my true identity as the soul, that being that lives inside of the body, and start thinking that way, understanding how I function, and then interact from that perspective as well. Are we okay so far?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, then we're going on a little more. Now, what is the relationship between the soul and the body now? The way I'm speaking, it may sound as if I'm saying, well, the body is not important. You are the important one. But no, both the soul and the body is totally important, because you're a human being. If you don't have a body, there will be something else, right? And if there is no soul in that body, the body is perishable, has to be discarded through cremation or burial or whatever, okay? So both are needed together to function in this human plane, perform actions in this human plane. So what is the interaction between soul and body? This is what I need to understand. Now, I want to use the example of a robot to try to explain a little deeper that interaction between soul and body. Let's assume there is a robot in front of you. We have a remote that controls that robot, isn't that so? You press one button, the hand moves or the foot moves, and somebody can control that robot externally with that remote control. Similarly, I am the soul in the body. I am using all the senses of the body to perform all my actions and functions in that body. So I, the soul, live in this body, and the one who is pressing the remote is I, the soul. You understand? So I am the master. I, the soul, is the one who is making decisions in this body. I, the soul, am the one who is experiencing all the emotions in this body. I am the master, really. Now, who am I? We said the body, like this robot, is made up of physical matter. But what is the soul made up of? metaphysical. It may be a big word, but it's not. It means beyond the physical. I, the soul, am made up of metaphysical energy. Now, the form that I take is light, not light energy like physical light, but like a point of light, like a shining star radiating light energy, right? Now, from that point, one point source, I'm a point source of light that then radiate energy throughout the body, and that's how I'm giving life to this body. I'm energizing, giving life. That's the life force. But I'm in fact just that tiny point. And from that point, I'm radiating that life source. The Hindi word for soul is Atma. Have you all ever heard that word before?
Yes.
Atma. So Atma is you, that soul. Now, at a physical level in the world, the smallest particle of energy or the most powerful aspect of physical energy is the atom. You all know that. Because what makes up the bombs and explosion is when they collide and release that energy, right? Very powerful energy. But at a spiritual level, you, the Atma, is the most powerful aspect of spiritual energy. We are more powerful than physical energy. In other words, I, the soul, is super powerful. You may ask, well, why don't I feel that? Don't worry, we'll understand what has happened to us over time, okay? But I am the soul. I'm a point source of energy. I'm living inside of this body, and I'm the one giving instructions to control and act through this body using the brain as a mechanism, like a computer system that control, that remote control. But the controller is really I, the soul, all right? Now, I have a form. And I must live, if I'm inside of this body, I must live or take a position inside of this body. Isn't that so? Because if I'm inside of this body, where do I exist? If I were to ask you, where do you think the soul exists inside of your body? What would your answer be? Anyone?
The gut.
The gut. That's, I
It's
never
either
got
the
that
gut or
answer.
the third eye.
I never got the gut before, but I always get either the heart or the brain, right?
Yeah,
But
the
the
third
gut,
eye.
what
think
did
it's
you say? Yeah.
third eye.
So it's called the third. You are the third eye, right? In other words, you are a point source of energy seated on the center of the forehead, and that's where the term third eye comes from, right? So you are the soul. See this in this image that I'm showing? That point source of light seated in the center of the forehead, radiating energy in all directions is the life force, right? At the back, why is that position most appropriate for you, the soul? Simple. Because at the back, there is the brain, which is your computer box for the body system. And all the senses are around here, the eyes, the ears, all the physical senses that we use as the mechanism of functioning in this body. So we have two physical eyes through which we see, but I am actually the third eye seated in the center of the forehead. That's my true identity. Okay?
This is
Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Now, how do I function? When you touch something hot, I'm showing the relationship between body and soul at a different level now. If you touch something hot, do you leave your hand on that heated to get burned? What do you normally do? You would definitely pull away your hand. But we all learn in biology and whatever what that means, what's happening. That sensation of heat is being taken up through our sensory nervous system. It's being taken to the level of the brain, and science teaches us that the brain feels the heat. Isn't that so? But do you think it is the brain that feels the heat? Just think about it. Is it the brain that experiences the heat? I'm just using heat as a external stimuli.
No, it's our skin.
The skin, through the skin. Is it the skin that is feeling the heat?
It's the soul.
It's you, the soul. Because if you take a dead person, a body, and put it on a funeral pyre for cremation, does that body experience the heat through the skin or through anything? Why?
No.
The soul's left.
Exactly. So who experiences every stimuli that passes through our body? Who is the one experiencing it?
The soul.
You, the soul. Make sense? All right.
Yes.
So I am the soul functioning through this body. I am the controller of my senses, and I am the one experiences all the emotions inside of that body in my interaction. Make sense? Okay.
Yes, but I have a question. Or should
Go.
I save it? I'll save it.
Save it, because I'm
Yeah.
going to explain the science of how I operate,
Yeah.
how the soul functions. So you may
Yeah.
get answer from that.
Yes.
So key thing in this one is I am the controller. I'm the master. I'm supposed to be the master. Don't ask me at this time why I'm not the master. I lose control, right? There's a reason for that too, but we need to understand what happens, right? But the key thing is I, the soul, am the controller of, or supposed to be the controller of all the senses of my body. I'm the master of my actions. I'm also supposed to be the master over my emotions and experiences and interactions. Okay. Now, I live in a tangible body. We know that. We just explained that. And I control the body through the 5 senses. Okay. So far we are okay. We're on one stream.
Yep.
Now, we are going into to understand how I operate and what has gone wrong with me. I need to understand my mechanism. What is it that I am doing in this body? We know what the body does, right? We know what the hand does, what the eyes do, how we function. Anything that is wrong in the body, we know how to fix it. We use spooky, we use what other things? All the therapeutics. We eat healthy foods, but those are all physical methods to fix the physical body. Okay? Or the physical functioning that has gone wrong. But in order to fix myself spiritually and empower myself spiritually from within, I need to understand how I function as the soul, because that's me now. It's not my body I'm talking about. Oh, we know 99% of the information about the body is there. Whatever we want to learn, we can learn it. Very easy. It's there. Google. or what other website now they're manipulating what information we get or we don't get, right? But we know we can get countless information about the body and my body functioning. But what about me? Do I know how I function? Do I know my science? It's like a car. Unless you know what's wrong with the vehicle, the car, a mechanic won't be able to fix it. He has to be able to listen, to hear or to see what's wrong, and then go to find the solution. So too, I need to know my functioning. What are my faculties? What do I do in this body all day? And it is said that I, the soul, have 3 functions or 3 faculties. I want to use the word faculties. One is I have a mind. Secondly, I'm sure you all heard these words before. You have an intellect or conscience. We all know those words. And thirdly, the Hindi word we use is sanskars. I'm not sure if you heard these words. But
Go ahead.
another way to say that word is personality. We all have personality traits or imprints. Okay. So
And is that, is it sanskaras or is it samskaras?
SAN.
Okay, so, but it is like when you get blocks, and they call them, that you get a sanskara.
It's Hindi. Sanskaras, yeah, you can have an A on the end sometimes.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So mind, intellect, sanskaras. Okay.
And how do you said that intellect is kind of, when I think of intellect, I tend to think more of, and it's probably just because I don't have a real good definition of it, but I tend to think more of intelligence and what you
Conscience.
know.
Let's use the word conscience for
So
now.
conscious,
But yeah, conscience. But I'm going to explain what each faculty does.
Oh, good.
So you would, we're going
Thanks.
into the depths of this.
Yeah, thank you.
Because we have to understand our functioning mechanism. That's the only way we would understand what has gone wrong with us, why we have lost our powers, our spirituality, and so on, what it means. So I'm going into the science of the soul. This knowledge that you are getting here is for all of us. We are all souls, that point of light. We all have a mind. We all have an intellect. And we all have a personality. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So just like the body organs have the 5 senses and we know what that does, we need to know what we are, how we function. So what is the mind? Now, I, the soul, that I say it's in the center of the forehead. Remember, where is the mind? Where is the intellect? And where is the personality traits embedded? Is it embedded in a body organ? Or would it be I, the soul? You understand? So this is why when I ask you, if I were to ask you, what is the mind? What is your definition of the word mind? We all say, I have a mind of my own, or this one has a good mind, or I have 2 minds about something.
I always think I have a brain that connects to a capital M mind.
Okay, but brain is a physical organ in the body, correct?
Right. So that's why I'm interested in hearing the real answer, because
exactly. So this is why I'm saying, I, the soul, these are my faculties.
yes.
So the mind is not physical, right?
Yes,
The mind
it's
is
metaphysical.
also metaphysical.
Yeah.
So what exactly? So this is why the mind is in the soul then. It's really see how nice we did that?
Yes.
So the mind is my ability to function as a mind, right? I'll tell you what the mind does. The intellect is also my ability to function as that intellect, and I'll tell you what that function is. And my personality is in me, the soul, which I express through the body. All right? Your body is not your personality, but your personality is expressed through your body. Okay? So another picture that will show it, knowing yourself a little more, is this image. Do you all think the images are good for you? Are you understanding clearly? Are they okay? What you're seeing? All right.
Yeah.
So I am this human being here. The soul, which is your third eye, is seated in the center of the forehead. This is you, not this body. If you were actually seeing me, or if I was seeing you truly as you are, what would you look like, or what would I look like? What is my true image? It would be a shining star, or like a light, radiating light in the center of the forehead. The body is not me, but that energy from the center of the forehead, that light radiating from the center of each one of our forehead, it's who I am. Now, that is shown as an oval shape. Why do you normally see an oval shape? It's because you can experiment with this. If you take a point of light and radiate on light in all directions, the form it will create would be oval. So I am in fact this point of light, radiating light. So my shape is more or less like an oval shape in the center of the forehead. So this body plus this soul makes me the human being. My faculties, that means the mind, the intellect, and the personality traits or resolve or impressions or sanskars, whatever you call it, are all in the soul, not body. These are not bodily faculties. These are my faculties, my functioning mechanisms. And this is why no scientist has ever been able to dissect a soul or dissect a mind from a human being and say, this is what the soul looks like. This is what this mind looks like. Because it's beyond physical. It's part of me. It's all spiritual. Okay? So I needed to clarify that. Now, what does the mind do? We say we have a mind. And there is something that we are doing at all times in our body. We have to understand what each one of our faculties do. In other words, I'm the soul, so what am I doing all day in this body? All night, all day? What is my function? There is something that you are doing 24 hours in your body. Conscious level as well as subconscious level. What do you think that is? You cannot stop yourself from doing it continuously.
Breathing.
There are people who can hold their breaths for a long while. Have you seen that? I know lots of people say breathing. Is there any other answer that anyone else can give?
Your heart.
Sorry?
Heartbeat. Heartbeat.
Heart.
Your heartbeat. Your
Heartbeat.
beating heart.
Sometimes your heart could stop beating a while, but then they put these things and it, it can start beating again, right? But there is a more common answer. What are you doing right now?
Our thoughts.
Exactly. I want you to do a little experiment. for even half a second, half a minute. See if you can blank your mind. Stop all thoughts. Can you? Can you stop all thoughts? Even when
No.
you are thinking of blanking your mind, you are creating the thought to blank your mind, right?
Mhm.
So your normal functioning in this body is to create thoughts. You are a thought factory. The mind is in fact a thought factory. 24 hours a day, subconscious or consciously, we are creating thoughts. And what are thoughts? Thoughts are energy waves. Isn't that so? Because if I am metaphysical, I am energy, what I create will also be energy. So every single thought that I create, I am radiating that spiritual metaphysical energy outside. Understand? Okay. So that's why it's shown here as an energy wave. So let's go a little more into understanding how the mind works. When I say the mind is not separate from you, but how I function as the mind. Okay. So I have a mind. So I create thoughts. I'm a thought factory. That's another definition of mind. Thought factory. I'm constantly creating thoughts. Are you able to count the number of thoughts you created in the past hour?
No.
Let's go for a day then. Not possible, right? So we are creating several thoughts, right? Now, thoughts are in different categories, we all know. Thoughts may be positive thoughts. Thoughts may be negative. Thoughts may be waste thoughts. Thoughts may be necessary. Necessary in the sense I have responsibilities. I need to get certain information for my job, for my livelihood, whatever. Many necessary thoughts that deal with my personal experiences. Waste thoughts, thinking too much about things of the past and it influences my present and future. Present thoughts, if they are not necessary, they are waste, right? Future, thinking too much about the future and then losing track of the present. That's also waste. Negative thoughts, unrighteous, inauspicious, evil thoughts are negative thoughts. Like who is deciding to depopulate the planet? Is that positive or negative, whatever. So we have all different types of thoughts that we create. Positive thoughts are righteous thoughts, auspicious thoughts, or good thoughts mean benefit to yourself and others. Now, each one of these thoughts radiates as energy waves into the atmosphere. Now, let's say we could see these thoughts, or we could put color to the thoughts, because metaphysical we cannot see. We cannot see the soul with the physical eyes. That's why the terminology metaphysical is used. So too, we cannot see our thoughts, can we? But we can feel and experience those thoughts or energy waves. So let's say I am feeling very angry today, right? And my thoughts of anger I'm sending out there. What type of vibrations am I sending into the atmosphere? It will be a negative vibrations. So we have what is called vicious and virtuous, right? Vicious are negative thoughts based on greed, lust, ego, envy, anger, attachment, all those more negative qualities that brings burden on the soul. Whereas virtuous thoughts are based on love, peace, happiness, bliss, all the pure divine qualities. So if my thoughts are more of negative, the energy waves that I'm radiating into the atmosphere would be negative. So how am I influencing the atmosphere? Would I be influencing the atmosphere positively if my thoughts are of anger or greed or lust? Would that be positive? It would be more negative, isn't that so? Now, once you create a thought and send it out there, can you pull it back in?
No.
It's already out there and it's already creating the impact, not only on yourself. If I create a thought of anger, who do you think that thought is affecting first? Me first. It's going to do the harm to me. And then whoever comes into my contact, into my environment, it's then going to be directed on them. They're going to be influenced as well. So let's assume we were all in one room. In one room, we had 100 people in one room. Generally, in the world today, and this is a question I want to pose to you all, do you think that people's thoughts and feelings and vibrations are more positive than negative, based on love and goodness and happiness, or is it more of desire, depression, of anger, of some challenges
latter.
or whatever, right? So if we are in a room and we have 100 people and we were vibrating those energy waves, what kind of energy waves will be invading that atmosphere? More negative, isn't that so? So what kind of energy will be bombarding on us? It will be more negative. And if I am not powerful from within, what's going to happen to us? We are going to be imploded by the negative. So in order to counteract that negative energy of vibrations that is all around us, not necessarily I alone am creating, but the entire world, because we are all living in one world. And once we go outside, we are being exposed to energy. I am energy. I'm concerned with the energy that is reflecting back on me, right? So if the majority of thoughts that we are as human beings are creating a more negative waste or unnecessary thoughts, then what happens? It means we will be impacted by those negative energy waves. And the only way to counteract it is to empower ourselves spiritually so that we can then vibrate positive energy that will transform or dissolve or, overtake or become victorious over that negative energy. You see where I'm coming from, right?
Yes.
Now, whose effort is needed to empower ourselves internally so that we can overcome all the negative vibrations and energy that are all around us in the world today? I can make effort for myself, but can I make effort for you? Can you make effort for me internally? We can probably share knowledge. We can probably become examples so that you can be encouraged to make your own effort. But in the long run, it all depends on our effort to strengthen and empower ourselves individually and radiate positivity, positive energy. Because each one of us are a walking ball of energy. Have you ever thought of yourself in that way? That's where you have the aura, of the aura, right? So according to the energies, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, That's the vibrations or aura that we radiate. So if my aura is one of positivity, then I'm influencing others positively. I'm helping them positively. Have you ever been in your family, your home, and one person is unhappy and angry? What happens afterwards? Spreads, isn't that so? It influences others in the family. So too, if I am positive, happy, intoxicated or joyous and tolerant and humble, these are the vibrations I would radiate, and I would be influencing others positively. Okay, so thoughts. So what I'm getting here is that your thoughts, where are they coming from? They are not coming from anywhere external, is it? Who is the creator of your thoughts?
The soul, us,
You.
me.
I, the soul,
Me.
have a mind, and I create every thought. I am the creator of my thoughts. It's not coming from outside. We cannot blame anyone and say, we can say an external influence may prompt me to create a thought, but that's because I allow that external influence to influence me, and so I create that thought. But ultimately, I am the creator of my thoughts. So that's my first function. I am the one who is constantly creating thoughts. This is a bit complicated, but I'll explain. So every moment of the day, I am creating all types of thoughts. So when I'm sleeping also, I create thoughts at a subconscious level. So I am the soul. This is the being that is creating thoughts, conscious as well as subconscious. So let's say now, so what is meditation? Normally when people sit in meditation, if you were to ask them, what are you doing? They would say, well, I'm trying to blank my mind, stop my thoughts. Because this is your functioning mechanism, you cannot stop your mind from creating thoughts. The process of meditation is not to blank your mind, but to control the kind of thoughts you create and the rate at which you are creating those thoughts. That's where you become mastery over the mind, to have self-control. Now, how do I function now that I know I am this mind? Let's say the mind, for example, is creating a thought. Maybe I saw an advertisement that is, advertising alcohol or maybe cigarettes. And I said, listen, I want to drink a glass of wine or alcohol. Okay, so that thought emerged. Where did that thought come from? I may think it's the advertisement that sent that thought. Yeah, the advertisement is there, but I am the one that is creating the thought I want to drink a glass of alcohol. It's coming from within me. That's the first step. So once I feel I want to drink a glass of alcohol or smoke a cigarette, what would be the next step? From thought. Thought is the seed. What normally happens after the thought?
You take action.
Thought to action. Okay. May I ask you, how many thoughts did you have in the last hour? Did you act on every one of them?
No.
Right? So there is a step in between,
Okay.
right? And that is the intellect comes into play. Not every thought that I create, I go straight from thought into action all the time. I'll explain why we say that sometimes. Okay, but We have an intellect. Remember, we use the word conscience. But actually, the intellect is my faculty or ability to make choices, to make decisions. I am an intellect. I analyze that thought that I'm creating and I check, is it good? Is it bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? I've forgotten that I've been doing this because it happens so fast that we are not aware of our mechanism. We have forgotten our functioning mechanism. So it does not go straight from thought into action. We have a filtering process that goes in. And that's what the intellect does. It filters that thought and says, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it good? Is it bad? And based on my intellectual analysis, my discernment ability, my power to discern, my power to decide, I decide whether I want to drink it or whether it's good, whether it's bad, right? That means if I have 10 people having that thought or being given that thought and have to analyze it, not everyone is going to say, hey, let me drink it. Some may say, listen, like myself, I've never drank alcohol from birth. So I would say, no, I will not do that. And for a long time, I've not been doing that. So I would say, okay, this will have a negative impact on my mind, on my body. I'm not going to do it. So the intellect stops the thought right there, does not bring it into action. But then my friend may say, listen, this is a normal thing, having a glass of wine after your meal, being with friends, you know, that's a normal thing. That is part of relationship. Let me have it. And I like this brand. This brand is good and so on. So, and I listen to others and I say, yes, I'm going to drink a glass of alcohol. Okay. So some make the decision, yes. And some, remember, I'm just using this as an example, but it's the process for everything. Because everything starts with the thought first. The thought is the seed. My thoughts are the seed of every action and interaction.
As well as emotion.
As well as your emotion. Emotion comes after.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
first it's the thought. So at the thought level, then comes the intellect. The intellect is like a filter. So let's say now I have filtered it and said it's good, it's nice. I'll take a drink. I'll take a glass of alcohol or I'll smoke a cigarette. What is the next step after making the decision? I would then have to go and physically get the cigarette or get the alcohol, put it in a glass or whatever, however the method, right? The intellect made, see, that's why it's shown as a scale, whereas the mind is showing us vibrations or energy. And we'll go further into what the sanskaras or personality is doing, okay? So first I create the thought, then I make the decision, then I use the body organs to perform the action of drinking that alcohol or smoking that cigarette. That means I have to pour the alcohol in a glass, bring it to my mouth, use the physical organs. So it's the body that is performing the action, but I am the one who started it, okay? Now, the Hindi word for action is, who knows what the Hindi word for action is? Karma. Have you heard that word before? Karma. So once I perform that action, I am then recording it on myself. I am a being of light. Whatever action I perform through the body is then recorded on I, the soul. I keep a record. It's like you know, the chip in a computer is based on the science of light, and the memory is there. So I'm keeping that record, like my memory chip, right? So every single action that I perform, I'm recording it, and one action upon another, I'm keeping a record of all my actions. And that is known as a karmic account that I'm keeping. That karmic account, sum total of all those actions that I ever performed as a soul, is what gives rise to my personality. You get where I'm coming from? Okay, so let's say I drank this alcohol. The first time I had the thought, look, I want to drink alcohol. So I went ahead, I got the alcohol and I drank it. It means that I recorded that karma, that action on the soul. The fact that you record something means you can replay it. It's there in your memory bank. So another day I may see that advertisement, or another friend may come to me and say, let's go have a drink. So what will happen then? I already imprinted it. And so I may say, the first time I did that, it was good. I liked it. Let me have another drink. Okay. So I imprinted a second time. So what have I done? I recorded the same action a second time. And let's say a third time, a fourth time, every friend that come, say, let's have a drink. So I'm recording it 5 times, 10 times, 100 times. If I record one action over and over and over again, what do you think I'm doing? I'm creating my own habits. It becomes a habit. One action imprinted, one karma imprinted on my record is what is known as habits. That's how I create habits or deep personality traits. Okay. Now, let's say I did that same action of drinking alcohol 1,000 times. I recorded it 1,000 times. Do you think after 1,000 times, I'm going to say, is it right? Is it wrong when the thought comes to do it? No, I will bypass the conscience. The intellect will no longer do that analysis because I've done it so many times. It has become deeply imprinted. So I go straight from thoughts into actions. So that first point that Sarah made, thought to action, that's when it happens. That's because I killed the conscience. I no longer want to analyze. I no longer, because it's already deeply recorded. It has become part of my personality, my deeply imprinted sanskars. Okay, that's my functioning. This is how I function. The sum total of all those habits, personality, actions that I have imprinted, what is my overall personality. So I am the creator of my personality traits. That's another point that we're making here. Okay, so the intellect decides to act or not, then perform the actions. You see, it weighs, is it right or wrong? Is it good or bad? Then it uses the body to perform the action. This one shows it, you see. I want to drink. Is it right? Is it wrong? I then go ahead and say, yes, let me buy a beer or whatever. And you're performing that action through the body. I repeat it over and over. It forms a habit. And that gives rise to me, that personality trait. So each one of us have different personality traits. None of us are the same, are we? identically same personality traits. Even identical twins may not have the same identical personality traits, because our personality traits are based on our thoughts, decision making, and the actions that we perform through the body. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now how do we use this knowledge in the meditation process? Now there's a lot more, but I don't want to go into more detail. This is the basic framework. So I am the thoughts, I am the mind, I create thoughts, I use the intellect to assess it, then I make decisions, I perform actions through the body. So the questions I want to ask, who creates your thoughts? You are the
I do.
creator of your thoughts. That's what this class is telling you. How, the same way that you create the thoughts, are you not able to transform them? Because a lot of people, if you go to them many times, maybe you can write this down and or trace back through your own experiences. People say, that's the way I am, that's how I think, those are the kinds of thoughts, those are my thoughts, you cannot change my thoughts or whatever. But that's my personality. They also say, this is the way I am, that's my personality, you cannot change it, I cannot change my personality, right? Now, so the question we have to examine is this: if I am the creator of my thoughts, am I not able to change them? So let's say I'm getting a thought of anger. Oh, I'm so angry, I have to get back at someone because they did something that affected me so much. I must get revenge. Who's creating the thought of revenge? Who is creating the angry thought? Is it I, right? So if I am understanding that I am creating that, how can I overpower it? By changing the thought of anger into one of love,
Love.
or one of peace, or one of tolerance, right? So I created that thought, a thought of anger based on a vice, or on a weak quality, a vicious quality. But I am the controller here. I'm the creator of my thoughts. So in order to change it, I must first realize I'm the one creating the thought. And secondly, I must realize that that thought of anger is burning me first. Anger is like a red hot stone that burns, right? And who is the one that burns most? Is the one who is creating that anger first, right? So if I don't realize that, I would not even have the desire to transform it. And then anyone that is coming in that direction of those thoughts will be influenced negatively. And so I'm creating a negative karmic account with that person. I'm also doing harm to them, my family members, my friends. And I don't want to do that. I'm sure nobody wants to do that. We need to transform the seed, which is the thoughts. I must have the power to transform it. My personality, many people say, oh, this is my personality, I cannot get up early, I must get so much hours of sleep, whatever, and so on. How was my personality created in the first place? If I'm generally a careless person, let's say my mom was an angry person and my dad was an angry person, and I become an angry person, what would I generally say? That I inherited. Isn't that so? That's what people say. But do we, based on this knowledge, do we inherit our personality traits? This
Yeah.
science is telling us that we are creating it. Because I'm sure my mom have 100 very good qualities, but I chose anger instead to implement, right? And same with my dad. So, okay, there are external influences, but I'm the one who chose to be angry, right? So I am the one responsible. This is why whatever action I perform, I am the one responsible, and I reap the fruits of every single action that I perform. Okay? That's the law of karma. As I sow, so shall I reap. We'll go into the depths of that in another class, right? So what we have said so far is very easy, and it's shown very clearly in this picture. It's more Hindi oriented. So I'm a human body, just to recap. Body, I'm a human being. I'm made up of flesh and bones. This is what the body is made of. Skeleton, flesh, bones. But the real me is I, the soul, seated in the center of the forehead. How do I function? My faculties, I have a mind, I have an intellect, I have a personality, or sanskaras, or resolves, or impressions. What it means is I, through the mind, create thoughts constantly. Based on the thoughts I create, the intellect then discerns, filters, make choices. Based on the choice, I either choose to act or not act. I can put an end to that thought there, or I then say, yes, I want to act on it. And so I use the body organs to perform the actions. I record it on the soul. The sum total of all of those actions give rise to my personality. Very easy, okay? So I, the soul, seated in the center of the forehead. This body is my vehicle. So the exercise in meditation, meditation is not just sitting in meditation. And yes, we must make time to sit and meditate, but we can meditate while walking, while moving around. And what does that mean? It's to constantly create or keep this awareness of who am I really. I am this driver inside of the physical body. When you are driving a car, do you ever feel that you are in fact the car itself? Never, right? Because you know that the car is your vehicle and you are driving that vehicle. But now that you got this knowledge, how many vehicles are you driving actually? If you're driving a car, how many vehicles are you driving?
One.
The car alone?
Oh.
You're driving the body, which is your vehicle, and you're also using the body to drive the car. So you're driving two vehicles there, isn't that so? Right? Now, if you are driving a car vehicle and you fall asleep by the wheels, you would generally get into an accident, right? That's how accidents happen a lot. So we go to sleep. What it means so too that I am the controller of the body, but if I forgot who I am, my true identity, and I'm thinking of myself as a body, and I'm relating as a body, I've fallen asleep, right? Because I've become unconscious of my true identity, my true awareness of my true self. I no longer am awake, I'm asleep, because I've forgotten that I'm the soul inside of a body, right? So I've forgotten myself. That's a form of sleeping. Sleeping at a spiritual level. So being awake is having the awareness of my true identity as that being of light, and being able to experience myself as I am who I am. That is what is called self-realization or soul consciousness. Before I can realize God, or before I can realize any higher source, I must first realize myself as soul, because my connection with a source is not a body connecting with a source, it's the soul. The soul, connecting with that source. The true yoga has to be between I, the soul, and whatever that source is. The next class will be on the source. But first, I need to have that recognition of who is it connecting first. I. This is me. This is what I am. That spiritual being. This is how I function. This is my relationship with my body. Okay? Then I need to understand what is the true natural qualities of every soul in this world. It's of pure divine qualities, such as peace, love, joy, purity, truth, bliss, all, and we have a lot more that we can talk about. They're shown by the colors of the rainbow. This is our natural qualities. But we may ask, why is it we are not seeing and experiencing these qualities in ourselves or in others? And it's very simple. If I were to take off the light, what would there be? There would be darkness, right? So of that void, if I take off the light, the void has to be filled with something. So if I remove the peace, if I lost my sense of peace, what happens? It has to be replaced by peacelessness or disturbance or some form of, imbalance or depression or negative. And that's what has happened to all of us today. We have forgotten our natural qualities or have become devoid. We may have some bliss, some peace, some love, but we are not full capacity as soul, because we forgot that we are souls. We forgot our true identity, and we don't make the effort to connect and refill ourselves with what our true inner qualities are. Now, so what does yoga do? Yoga is doing just that. Now, we use, and I'm sure you heard these words somewhere or sometime. Have you ever heard the words Om Shanti before?
Yes.
Right? So this is the essence of today's class. Actually, our greeting is Om Shanti. We don't say hello, how are you, or what? We normally greet each other with these two words. Om Shanti. Om means I am a soul. That Om is a very precious word. It means I am a soul. Shanti means peace, literal translation. So I am a soul, and the soul is the embodiment of peace. Many of us are searching everywhere. We go to the beach, we go on holidays to find peace. But where is the peace? I am really the embodiment. That's my natural quality. That's my natural existence. So Om Shanti means that when I look at you or when we look at each other, it's the soul looking at soul, not the body. The interaction is spiritual, soul to soul. But beings of peace, relating with beings of peace. The body is our vehicle. It's insignificant, really, compared to the importance of my true self, the soul. So Om Shanti means I'm the being of peace. So that connection that we are having in yoga is to realize our true natural qualities of peace, because that we are going to learn what that source is and what that connection with the source is, what impact is happening or what it's doing to I, the soul, so that I can realize myself as the true being of peace, of love, the embodiment. That's what is called spiritual empowerment or divine, our divine virtual qualities again, with divinity, return to our divine quality or divine state. Okay, so far, let me open up for any questions that you may have, those who have left or who are here still. What questions do you have?
Hi, sister.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. I want to know, are you going to be sharing this recording with us?
Yeah, I have it. I have recorded it. Do you want me to share it? I was not sure if you'll be interested.
definitely want you to share it because I'm going to share it with a lot of people because it's really, really helpful. And it's all about wonderful healing and light. And I think it's a lot of people can make wonderful use, including myself, what we just heard.
Very good. Because the methods we are using is for the body. I'm in this group because I wanted to bring that balance.
Yes.
I know we need to heal soul and body.
Yes, we do.
Healing the body is what we are talking about in the groups. But we have to heal ourselves.
Yes.
And we can heal the body by healing ourselves in the right way.
That's right. That's right.
So both
And
are
you've touched
needed.
so many things. So many things have been touched in this one course. That's just,
It's fascinating.
it's excellent.
You like it, Sarah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes.
very good.
Joanne?
Yes.
Okay.
It's, yeah, it
And
was
it
a-
went just
Right.
completely in a direction that I wasn't expecting, and blends in with so many other things I've been learning, and answers a whole bunch of questions actually that I've spent years like studying and didn't know until tonight. So
and you made it very easy to understand. The way I like the diagram.
PowerPoint. I was
'Cause I'm
playing
very-
with it.
I'm a very visual person, and that was very helpful to me.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing it.
Oh,
I
good.
like doing
Keep on doing it.
Yeah, I was
I'm
having
really
fun.
impressed, I have to say. I think it's a
I'm glad.
pretty slick operation you have going there. And I know how difficult it is to do it. So
No, it's not. We have been doing this a long time, but now I'm playing with the PowerPoint. Remember, we are in a center, so people come physically. So they are there bodily, and we communicate bodily. This is Zoom. It's a new world. So we are using new technology. So we have to make PowerPoints now and whatever. But for many years, we have been given these classes,
Yes.
Well,
I've been watching for many years, Sister Shivani. I would listen to her all the time.
Nice.
Yeah. And, I would pick her up wherever I was, and it was always, wonderful to hear, and even more so practice. And just with all the distractions we have, to be able to center ourselves back into, our reality.
Because then you would be unshakable. And Shivani has told everyone she cannot give this class in those sessions, but she tells everyone come to the centers,
Yes.
right? So when they come to the centers, then we can go into more details.
Yes.
So although now that you are listening to this, you will understand Shivani a lot more,
Oh, I'm sure.
what she's telling you. Yeah, at a deeper level, right?
This is bringing us back home.
Mhm.
Put it this way.
Exactly.
From being
Yeah.
out there to empowering again.
Very good. I'm glad you liked it. Okay, so y'all are coming back for the next class.
Yes. I
Nice.
want to get some more people after I send them out.
Okay, good. It's
I-
all right. Mhm. Yes, Joanne.
I just want to say I normally babysit. It just so happened not today, but it's going to be on Thursdays. So I hope you have the recording so that I can listen to them afterwards.
Okay, so
This
next
is
Thursday
excellent.
you're not able to come?
I don't think I'll be able to on Thursdays. I'm
Okay.
committed to babysitting. So
All right.